This week on a special edition of our show, we're going to have one of those programs where we explore the dusty back shelves of your local video store where the owners keep tapes they almost wish they hadn't stocked. Tapes nobody seems to rent, and yet tapes of movies that we think are pretty good. And I'm going to start with a comedy that featured a number of young actors that would go on to be major stars. Perry King from TV's Riptide got top billing over a couple of guys named Henry Winkler and Sylvester Stallone, as Roger said, in 1974. The film, The Lords of Flatbush, a sweet and very funny slice of Brooklyn street life with comically tough guys and, get this, even tougher girls. I love you. Buy me that ring. Man, that's just great writing. For me, that scene ranks with Zero Mostel screaming and Mel Brooks as the producers, "I want that money." It's a primal howl, as is a lot of the Lords of Flatbush. Sort of actually a Saturday Night Fever without the dancing. Wonderful film.
You know what I thought of when I looked at that clip? I thought once again of how good Sylvester Stallone was and how good he could be again if he could free himself from the straitjacket and the rigidity of the superhero that Rocky and Rambo have turned into. Because as a comedian, as a fast-talking, funny street guy, he was fabulous. And also in the first Rocky movie.
Yeah, I agree.
I mentioned Rocky a moment ago as another one of my favorite Christmas releases, and it is one of the holiday season's most emotionally satisfying movies. It's the story of a down-and-out Philadelphia prizefighter who gets a crack at the heavyweight title. The screenplay was written by a down-and-out New York actor named Sylvester Stallone, who insisted that he play the title role himself. The rest is turning out to be box office history. Stallone is an overnight star, and both he and Talia Shire, who plays his girlfriend, are favored for Oscar nominations. In this scene, we see the beginning of the love affair between Rocky and the painfully shy girl down the street.
I want to kiss you. You don't have to kiss me back if you don't want. I want to kiss you.
Talia Shire told me that one of the reasons she looked so shy and pale and trembling there was that she had the flu that day. But in any event, the whole movie puts the audience through an emotional ringer because Rocky wants to win more than a fight. He wants to win back his own self-respect. And the girl's fighting too. She's fighting the shyness that has always kept her hidden away from life. In this series of edited scenes, we see the build-up for the big fight.
You believe that America is the land of opportunity. Apollo Creed does. And he's going to prove it to the whole world by giving an unknown a shot at the title. And that unknown is you. It's the chance of a lifetime. You can't pass it by.
Oh, man, they says to me, you weren't born much of a brain, so you better start using your body, right? So I've become a fighter.
Time, kid. Let's go.
My mother, she said you weren't born much of a body, so you better develop your brain.
The electricity is all over the place tonight as Rocky Balboa.
You know, I've been coming in for 6 years. In 6 years, you've been sticking it to me. I want to know how come.
You want to know?
How about I wait here and you fight?
Adrian is a loser.
No, you're looking very great today, you know that?
And if you don't watch out, you're going to end up dying alone.
Wish me luck. I'm going to need it.
Our 50-to-1 underdog living a Cinderella story.
I think we make a real sharp couple of coconuts. I'm done with your shot. What do you think?
Rocky Balboa climbing into the ring now. Is that the world heavyweight champion of Apollo Creed?
It really don't matter if I lose this fight.
Is he supposed to be George Washington?
So all I want to do is go the distance.
The world heavyweight champion.
Seeing that bell rings and I'm still standing.
I want nostalgia!
I'm going to know for the first time in my life.
Creed.
I weren't just another bum from the neighborhood.
I want you! I'll break both your arms so they don't work for you. Now you're a big shot fighter on the way up. You don't even throw a crumb to your friend Paulie. You again, you owe me.
I take care of you, Paulie. I don't owe you nothing. And you made me feel like a loser. I'm not a loser.
Among the other actors you saw there were Burgess Meredith as the manager and Burt Young as the girlfriend's brother. And all the characters in Rocky inhabit a barren, emotional landscape. Director John Avildsen is very good at isolating them in their dreary existence so that when Rocky's big break comes, it's all the more dramatic. And the movie's ending, a confrontation with a heavyweight champion of the world, is one of the most draining, exhausting, and emotionally fulfilling scenes I've seen in a long time. But the one thing we shouldn't do, Gene, is say who wins the fight.
I won't do that, but I'm also not going to agree with you that the picture is all that terrific. I liked it, but not quite as much as you. And what I didn't like was two of those characters. One, the woman, she is so shy and retiring in the beginning of the picture. It's ridiculous. In fact, it makes her turnaround for me unbelievable. And even worse is her brother, Paulie, the guy who's screaming, "I'm a loser." It's just embarrassing. It's like old kind of the worst method acting.
You're bringing too much logic to the movie. It seems to me that it works on an emotional level or it doesn't work at all. If you start thinking about it, it falls apart. But to me, it's got a lot of heart and a lot of spirit. For 7th place, I chose an emotional blockbuster named Rocky. It stars Sylvester Stallone as a punk prize fighter who gets a lucky chance at the heavyweight championship, and Talia Shire is the shy girl down the street who falls in love with him. In this clip, we see them on their first date, and then later, before the big fight.
Oh, man. It was never too smart. He says to me, you weren't born much of a brain, you know, so you better start using your body, right? So I'd become a fighter. You know what I mean? Why you left?
My mother, she said the opposite thing.
What'd she say? What'd she say the opposite?
Said you weren't born much of a body, so you better develop your brain.
Well, how about I wait here and you fight, huh? You know, you're looking very great today, you know that? Hmm? I gotta go now, but don't you leave town, huh? Wish me luck. I'm gonna need it.
Good luck.
Adrian, you don't think this robe here is too baggy, huh?
Good luck.
Don't leave town.
There weren't many movies that grabbed audiences and really involved in the way Rocky did this year.
Rocky, I am half with you, half against. It's a fight film and a love story. I like the fighting in it. I love the boxing match and the whole emotion of that story, but the love story for me was sappy because this woman in the beginning borders on the catatonic. She isn't a real person, and her switch becomes very strange for me.
At the end, she borders on the celestial, but for me, that was what I liked about it. Even if it was corny, and even if it was obvious, it was romantic.
And I found it corny and obvious.
And not romantic.
Because of that, yeah.
And he built a union. A union that became a fist.
We're getting pictures that we like, but then they dribble off at the end.
Well, that's an example with the next picture, I think, which is good until the end. Sylvester Stallone will be remembered for the rest of his days as Rocky. He has a new movie out called Paradise Alley. It's the story of 3 Italian-American brothers growing up in the Hell's Kitchen area of New York 30 years ago, trying to make it any way they can. Well, Stallone is only a street hustler, but just like Rocky, he knows he's going to be somebody someday. And here he tries out his line on a girl he wants to impress while he's walking her home at night.
Well, think about working up an act, okay?
I'll think.
Oh, you'll think. Listen, you ought to see a doctor because your eyes need glasses.
Why?
Why? Why?
Yeah.
Because you keep missing my mouth all the time.
Good night, Cosmo.
Yeah.
That's Ann Archer. She's really great. Stallone keeps trying to play all the angles, trying to make some money. Now, here's a scene where he bets $100 on an arm wrestling contest between his kid brother and a tough neighborhood hoodlum.
Yeah, well, you know something? You are puke.
Hey, Sketch, what do you say we get this happy contest rolling here? Come on, Vic.
That's a great scene. It grows and grows, it builds and builds. It's just got great tension there. Anyway, the kid turns out to be the meal ticket for Stallone and his older brother, who talk him into becoming a professional wrestler. And Paradise Alley is Sylvester Stallone's movie all the way. He wrote it, he directed it, and he stars in it, and it's got a really original feeling to it. It's funny and outrageous, and Stallone isn't afraid to go to stylistic extremes. He uses corniness, broad comedy, wild exaggerations, whatever he needs to get his points across, like that guy tearing his shirt off.
Right.
Paradise Alley is never realistic. I don't think characters like this ever existed in Hell's Kitchen or anywhere else. But the movie exaggerates so well. It's so filled with life and energy and high spirits, carries us right along.
right along again until that ending.
Until the end.
You know, this picture, he creates such a weird world, as you said. This Paradise Alley is a gambling den and a wrestling parlor underneath some building. Really exciting. We expect some weird kind of finish to the picture. No, cornball happy ending.
Right out of Rocky. Rocky ended with a big fist fight. This ends with a big wrestling match. Worked in Rocky, it doesn't work this time.
I think maybe Stallone has this idea that if you just give people a happy, big, exciting physical ending, that it's going to work all the time.
Well, the formula didn't work this time. It was a letdown. We cared about these characters. We wanted to see what happened to them.
Yeah.
Now, Gene starts with Rocky II.
I think I'm speaking for both of us. Sequels and remakes are the bane of a film critic's existence.
I'll go along with that.
We want originality in the movies, but increasingly, Hollywood has given us the same boring old thing, Part 2. A thoroughly enjoyable exception to this epidemic of rotten sequels, though, is Rocky II. It may be a sequel, but it's not boring. Rocky II describes the further adventures of Rocky Balboa, the Philadelphia club fighter who, come on, if you don't know what Rocky's story is, what are you doing watching this show? In the new film, Rocky is still in love with his formerly shy girlfriend, Adrian, played by Talia Shire. In fact, early in Rocky II, he hits her with a big question in pure Rocky style.
What are we doing here at the zoo?
Well, you know, I kind of like this zoo a lot. You know, it's a special place, especially when it snows. You know, it kind of smells clean and everything like that, you know? Don't you like the zoo? Huh?
I like the zoo.
Yeah, me too. You know, I was wondering, like, what do you think you're doing for, like, the next 40 or 50 years?
What do you mean?
I was wondering if you wouldn't mind marrying me very much.
What'd you say?
If you wouldn't mind marrying me too much.
Yes. I'd like to marry you.
Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
I'll be a good guy, I promise. I ain't gonna do nothing wrong. I ain't gonna leave no hair in the sink or nothing like that, you know? Things are gonna be great, you know that? Hey, we're getting married, you know? You wanna come? You can get out for the weekend. I'll send you an invitation, Mr. Tiger. That's fantastic, isn't it? Oh!
A beautiful scene, a great scene. Some very funny and tender writing there. Sylvester Stallone wrote both Rocky and Rocky II. He's an excellent writer with a fine offbeat sense of humor. Just because he looks like a palooka doesn't mean he can't write. Now, in the middle of Rocky II, fight manager Burgess Meredith has to be convinced that Rocky is able to withstand a rematch with the champion, Apollo Creed.
Well, now, did you come here to show me that dog?
No. Can I have my laptop back?
Yeah, what's on your mind?
Fight.
Fight? What? You want to go blind?
Nobody's going blind.
You heard what I said?
Yeah, the eye's great, no problem.
Now, listen, every pug thinks he has one good one left. Now, forget it, because your fighting career is over, kid.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think that's right.
You know, I spent my whole life getting a career. I get one, and you told me it's over.
What's the matter? You shook the hell out of the champion of the whole wide world. You'd be happy with that.
Well, maybe we can do better this time.
Or worse. What about that?
Hey, young man. I done you a favor last time, you know. Can you do me one this time?
I don't know. You don't understand me. Now, look, I want to show you something now. Test you. Now, look, you look right there at the end of my nose, will you?
Okay.
I want to test you.
Look at your nose.
You look at my nose. Now, when I bring my finger in, you tell me when you see it, will you?
There's the little thing, I see it.
That's good.
I told you it's okay.
Now, wait. We'll try the other lamp. Now, look here, will you? Now, tell me.
I see it.
Now, you see nothing.
That doesn't stop Rocky. Eventually, it's fight time once again with Apollo Creed. The ref gives instructions.
Okay, boys. I'm going to give you the instructions now, and I expect you to follow them. Watch the low punches and watch the kidney punches. Watch the rabbit punches. In case of a knockdown, you go to the corner I tell you to and stay there until I tell you to come out. Understand? Okay, boys, let's have a good fight.
Going down.
And they do have a good fight. I really enjoyed Rocky II. I'm even looking forward to Rocky III. Rocky Balboa is a very colorful, very funny, thoroughly American character.
I think you make a very good distinction between what we, I think, both feel about remakes and sequels, which is it's a rip-off, another chance to go back to the public, get another $4, and this film, which is a real sequel. I mean, Rocky really gave us some people that we cared about, warm and human, colorful characters. We wanted to know what happened next. The first movie kind of stopped in midstream, and this one carries on from the exact moment. I really did enjoy it.
The thing on the sequels is, you know, we had Beyond the Poseidon Adventure a while back. That just repeated physical events. This film really repeats emotional events, and it's very fine. It's amazing. It is really the same film. There's the same running through the streets of Philadelphia, the same running up the stairs of the Philadelphia Museum. There's the same kind of music in the picture, and yet it all works. Even ends with a big fight.
The big fight. In my opinion, a better fight scene than the first film, as a matter of fact.
I don't know if I agree with you on that.
Certainly leaves you leaving the theater shaking your head, you know, with joy, really, and exhilaration. And we might as well say, as a matter of fact, that there is going to be a Rocky III, and you heard it here first. Apollo Creed retires. He becomes Rocky's trainer. Rocky decides to fight one more fight, and where do you think the fight is held? Only one place that's possible, right? The Roman Coliseum.
So I'm looking forward to that. This is really, I think, a fairy tale for adults, and just like little kids like to hear the same old stories, this story could go on for a long time for me, too.
Well, I guess Rocky III is going to be the last one, but you were right, I think, to talk about the humor in the film, too. It's not just all serious punching and so forth. But first, Gene starts with the new Sylvester Stallone thriller, Nighthawks.
Nighthawks represents the latest attempt by Sylvester Stallone to break free of his Rocky Balboa character, and I think he's perfectly acceptable in Nighthawks. As a New York detective assigned to track down and capture a vicious international terrorist, Stallone's partner in Nighthawks is Billy D. Williams. Both characters are quite theatrical, and they're not the reason I enjoyed the film. The reason is I got caught up in hating the terrorist and very much wanted to see this guy stopped. That's why I was rooting for Stallone and Williams here as they chase the terrorist through a subway train. The terrorist escapes and ends up taking some hostages in an aerial tramway swinging over New York's East River. He shoots one hostage, and then he summons Stallone to the hijacked cable car and gives him a message for the press.
How do you feel? Helpless? Could have cut the cable. It's a long way down.
Why'd you kill the woman?
I wanted to.
So why don't you kill me?
In due time. We're not that different, Deke. I do not enjoy killing, but it's my job. Someone has to do it. I represent oppressed victims who have nothing. I speak only for them. I'm their voice. I'm a liberator.
You think you're a liberator?
It fascinates you. It does. The child. Come on. Come on. Give it to me.
Please be careful. See.
Sit down. This is for the press. Now, you may drop the child.
Oh, no.
Don't drop this.
You'll be all right. What if you don't win this time?
Try again. Shaka, lower him.
Please be
Think that's a bit melodramatic? I agree. It's unlikely that a professional terrorist who craves anonymity would ever seek out a one-to-one, face-to-face duel with a detective. And yet I can't deny I was caught up in the chase elements of Nighthawks. My explanation is that the reality of terrorism is so great in real life that this film cleverly exploits our desire to do something about the problem, and so we root for Stallone and Williams to simply stop that guy. And it's on that basis that I like Nighthawks.
Well, Gene, I disagree. I can't recommend the film. I don't think the reality of terrorism is so great in this film. For one thing, the terrorist belongs to no identified organization or cause.
But Roger,
he's a generic brand
wait a
terrorist.
minute. He is supposed to be that. It is very clear that this film was not supposed to make us question whether terrorist activity should exist. It's not a political film. It's a straight thriller.
I think that's just a cop-out by the people who wrote the film. I have some other problems.
That's what they wanted to do.
I don't think that two ordinary beat cops would be allowed to run all the negotiations with a terrorist. I can't believe that Stallone should have been his character so dumb that when the guy is in a cable car with a machine gun, Stallone gets in a helicopter and approaches him and hovers 20 feet away in the helicopter where he could be shot down. And also, at the beginning of the film and again at the end, Stallone dresses up in drag in order to catch a killer. In both cases, the killer, luckily, doesn't notice Stallone's beard. I think this is a really deep movie.
Well, I don't think it's a deep movie. I don't think it's trying to be. I think it's trying to be an urban thriller, and I think it gives us a villain that we want to see caught, and that's where I think it works.
I agree with you that it's trying to be an urban thriller.
Okay. Our next movie is Rocky III, and you can probably guess the titles of the two pictures that came before it. How does this one rank with the other two Rocky films? It's not as good. There's nothing new in this picture, and some of the most interesting personal relationships in the familiar world of Rocky Balboa are ignored. This story, this time, is an awful lot like the beginning of Rocky II. Rocky, played by Sylvester Stallone, of course, has gotten fat and lazy because as heavyweight champion, he's been fighting a bunch of pushovers with his manager, Mickey Burgess Meredith, consciously ducking the most obvious challenger in the land, a tough guy with a mohawk haircut called Clubber Lang.
Get out while you can. Don't get a sucker no statue. Give him guts. I told you I wasn't going away. You got your shot. Now give me mine.
Why don't you get the hell out of there?
Shut up, old man. I ain't going nowhere. And why don't you tell all these nice folks why you've been ducking me? Politics, man. This country wants to keep me down. Keep everybody weak. They don't want a man like me to have the title because I'm not a puppet like that fool up there.
You know, you got a big mouth, you know?
Why don't you come out and close it, Balboa? Come on. Come on.
You're tired. Oh, the guy's crazy. Don't listen to him.
The little man don't want to come to me. Then I'll come to you people and lay out the truth. I am rank number one. One! That means I'm the best. But this bomb is taking the easy matches, fighting other bombs. I'm telling you and everybody here, I'll fight him anywhere, anytime, for nothing. But you people ain't never gonna see that happen because he's gonna retire. You see, he don't fight no real man. He fight them setups.
What? You're a disgrace to this sport.
Shut up, old man. You and that chump don't know where to come from. Balboa, your family doing real nice, ain't it? You call yourself a fighter? Prove it now. Give me that same chance. The way you've been ducking is a disgrace. If he ain't no coward, why don't he fight me then?
I can't listen anymore of this. Hey, anytime.
I don't care what your rank. You don't get no shot, and I mean that.
I'm glad you people are saying this shit.
What are you doing? I want to fight this guy.
Well, you got him. But you'll fight him without me.
What are you saying?
It's finished. Yes, I'm finished. I don't want no more of this. I don't want no more of it. You understand? None of it.
Of course, the film has a rousing fight to conclude the picture, but before that final fight, I found myself bored by a lot of what was going on. There was no continuation of the interesting and developing love story between Rocky and his wife that was so good in the other pictures. And I didn't particularly enjoy seeing Rocky go after another loudmouth black fighter. That seemed to be pandering to anybody that has racist feelings in the audience. And frankly, I didn't find Rocky's character as warm and as appealing as I did in the early pictures. What's missing, I think, is the colorful writing of the first two films, although Rocky III, like the others, was written by Sylvester Stallone. And so what we have in Rocky III is just another brutal fight. It's not a bad film, just a tired and loud one.
I kind of agree with you. I did enjoy the fight. I suppose it's brutal. All fights are brutal. The last two pictures, which you liked, ended in brutal fights, too.
That's okay.
And that's entertaining. But what I missed here was Rocky.
Yes.
Rocky, this kid from the original picture with the colorful way of talking and the funny lifestyle.
Right.
The turtles named Cuff and Link.
Right.
His shy, little bashful way of approaching Adrian and asking her for a kiss.
But
all
funny.
That's gone. It's funny
Yes.
and warm. And all of that is gone. And Rocky is just kind of a loudmouth, and he's lost all of his human dimension, and the human relationships in the picture are missing.
Yeah.
Adrian isn't even around at the end of the big fight.
If I had Stallone here, I would say, why did you just write about yourself? I mean, why Rocky character? Why not Rocky and all of his connections with the people? They're just cardboard figures up here anymore. I wonder if he couldn't get the actors to do bigger roles. Maybe they're tired of the series and he's going it on his own.
I doubt if that's the case. I think he wrote it this way. Another thing you mentioned was Carl Weathers as Apollo Creed. I agree. It's a good performance.
Yes, he's always good in this
Best
series.
thing in this movie, but let me ask you this question. Why did they change Apollo Creed? In the original picture, he was a loudmouth, grandiose, colorful, jive-talking, and smart Muhammad Ali type. Now he's turned into this noble, pious, inspirational, serious, thoughtful guy.
I think that's I know why.
Wouldn't it have been more fun to have Apollo Creed as he used to be, still working with this white guy and trying to teach him how to fight?
I think they did it to hedge the bets, because they had one loudmouth black, so now they got to get the noble black. And I think that's where this racism thing comes into play, and I think they made a big mistake.
Well, I'm not sure this is racist, but I agree with you basically on the fact that the movie doesn't work as well as the
That's
first
a much more important issue.
Sylvester Stallone. This time, he's fighting for his life. First Blood.
Our X-ray subject this week, Red Dawn and the new conservative super-patriotism that's popping up in American movies. You know, years ago in the 1960s, with pictures like The Graduate and Easy Rider, Hollywood was wearing its politics on its sleeve, and those politics were decidedly left-wing and anti-establishment. Recently, however, the times have been a-changing, and we are seeing more and more films that support the establishment and embrace the military. 2 films in the past 2 years fit this bill, and both were surprise smash hits. In First Blood, with Sylvester Stallone, a Vietnam veteran turned himself into a one-man assault team and presented a sad but heroic portrait of the American fighting man. A year later, in Uncommon Valor, another Vietnam vet, a former colonel played by Gene Hackman, put together a dirty half-dozen assault team to fly to Laos to bring back American soldiers still missing in action from the Vietnam War. Both films presented heroic portraits of the American fighting man, and that certainly was new to American movies in the last 20 years. Now comes Red Dawn, which for all of its love of combat might as well be a military training film for our nation's youth. Don't be a wimp, this film is saying. The Russians are coming, and only the strong will survive. Leaving aside the quality of these movies, that is a new message from Hollywood, and given the political orientation of this country with Ronald Reagan as president, I think the new conservatism of American movies is yet another example of how the movies always reflect back to us what has been going on in life. It's not the other way around. They always come back to us.
In other words, you're saying that Hollywood doesn't say, okay, we ought to be conservative, so we'll make these movies. Hollywood is saying we pick this up from our audience surveys or from our feedback or from our instincts, and that's why we make these films.
Don't you agree?
Could be. In other words, it's a mirror.
A mirror, definitely.
Yeah.
Our next film is the sequel to the 12th top-grossing movie of all time. How's that for a trivia question? Saturday Night Fever, the story of a Brooklyn disco king who grows up out of his neighborhood and out of his friends. The new film is called Staying Alive, and it again stars John Travolta as Brooklyn boy Tony Manero, now living in Manhattan in a Fleabag hotel, working part-time as a waiter, trying to get a job as a Broadway dancer. And one day, while watching his girlfriend of his dance in a show, he spots another girl, the lead dancer, and he's drawn to her because she's more dangerous, more unattainable than his regular friend.
You're gonna audition, aren't you?
Why not? Rejection's become like a hobby to me now.
Oh, listen to you. Oh, well, good night.
Good night.
Good night. No, do you know her?
Just informally.
How'd you meet her?
She was passing by before. I told her she was an okay dancer.
Oh, that's incredible. You tell her she's an okay dancer.
Something to that effect.
She's a great dancer. I can't believe you said it.
Ooh, what about the limo? Whose is it?
I think it belongs to her. Everybody says that she comes from money.
Really? What's her name? Is she like heavily involved with someone or what?
I don't know. What do you mean by involved?
Anyways, like she got a lot of guys hanging around drooling over, you know.
Look, if you're hot over somebody, I don't want to always hear about it.
I just respect her dancing, that's all.
Yeah.
Did you hear the way she talks? It's so intelligent, like, I love it.
An accent doesn't make someone intelligent. If it did, you'd be Einstein.
Well, their relationship is not what Tony would like it to be, and he finds more satisfaction, just like in the first film, when he is dancing. Well, now the new film is sort of a Rocky story in a leotard, and that makes sense because Staying Alive was co-written and directed by Sylvester Stallone. Unfortunately, Stallone simply doesn't understand what made this first film, the Saturday Night Fever film, work so well. That film was about a character who danced. This movie is just about dancing, endless Broadway dancing that is a cut below anything I've ever seen on Broadway. Lost completely in this movie is the character of Tony Manero. This is supposed to be sort of a victory film for him, but Tony is lost in Manhattan and lost in all the dancing in this movie. Staying Alive, I'm afraid, is just another bad sequel.
Well, you've taken care of Tony Manero. I agree with that. The character isn't there. This doesn't have any of the fire and the vigor and the human kind of feeling of his life in Brooklyn.
Absolutely.
The dancing is no good either.
Absolutely.
I hate to say this. John Travolta Travolta is okay as a disco dancer, but he's not a Broadway dancer, and they have to cut and cut to hide that fact in this movie. And in particular, this is one of the first dance movies I've seen that's basically shot from the waist up. You don't see his feet, you don't see his legs. When he jumps, he jumps over a stage that's covered with smoke, or the camera is up above the stage so you can't see how high he's jumping. And then they use montages to try to create a feeling of movement that he can't give as a dancer.
But test with me what's more important.
Okay.
If the character was there, and I think you know this is true, if the character were there, we frankly
you wouldn't care.
You wouldn't care. You wouldn't notice.
That's right.
Because you would care about who's doing the dancing, however well they do it. And you don't have to be great to be liked in the movies. I'm saying the structural flaw here is you have this wonderful, warm guy that we saw grow up with, and it was a rough R-rated movie. This is just PG dazzle, and it's a bunch of star filters and smoke, and we lost our
bubblegum cinematic jukebox.
Absolutely.
Our last lousy sequel was particularly disappointing to me because I'm such a fan of the original Saturday Night Fever. And so more than anything else, this sequel, called Staying Alive, represents a blown opportunity. The story picks up the Tony Manero character 6 years later. Dancing is still important in his life. He's across the bridge now, living and working in Manhattan as a dancer, trying to make it in a Broadway show. That is the only sweet scene in the movie, and of course it's so sweet we can't figure out why he doesn't go with that girl, why he is interested in this other woman. After we wait around long enough, what do you know, though? He gets the starring role, and he makes his show a big hit. Big deal. It's so predictable and so unlike the fresh, utterly frank, realistic story of the original Saturday Night Fever, which was Brooklyn gritty, whereas this film is Hollywood phony. So what if Staying Alive made a lot of money? I didn't get to see Tony Manero grow up in this movie. I saw John Travolta walking through a fairy tale story. Staying Alive was bitterly disappointing. I really mean that. I felt betrayed in some way as a tremendous fan of that.
It really let me down, too. Tony Manero is a real guy in the original picture. He has a real life, and who would have thought that he went through everything that he went for in Saturday Night Fever, only to wind up with his life being turned into a backstage musical. He deserved better than that.
Yep.
Our next movie is a comedy called Rhinestone that stars Dolly Parton and Sylvester Stallone, and a story that I think was probably lifted straight out of My Fair Lady. This time Dolly Parton plays the Professor Henry Higgins role. Stallone is Eliza Doolittle, and the deal is, if Dolly can teach Sly how to walk, talk, and sing like a country boy, she'll win her bet with the owner of a New York nightclub. Now remember how Professor Higgins discovered Eliza as a Cockney flower girl? In this scene, Dolly has just gotten Stallone fired from his job as a taxi driver.
Hey, look, I didn't mean to get you fired.
Yeah, you want to do me a big favor? Just get out of my face, okay?
Look, I can help you.
Yeah, just let me out of the job, you hillbilly bimbo.
Bimbo?
No, hillbilly bimbo.
You can't talk to me like that.
Oh, I can. All right? Watch my lips, Daisy May. Now, you know, some people, they may think you're real cute. But me, Nick, I kind of think you're this reject from Hee-Haw. So why don't you just take off because the hay wagon is leaving, all right?
You can always get another job, you know.
What are you, a guidance counselor? I like this job. There's a lot of memories here. Hey. Bad memories.
Stallone has nothing to lose, though, and so he says he'll go along with her bet, and Dolly takes him back home to Tennessee so that he can do advanced research on authentic country lifestyles. Here's the scene where they get off the bus and meet some of the local good old boys.
Hey, Hewlett, Mr. Polk, you seen my daddy?
Not today.
I want you guys to meet a friend of mine from New York City. This here's Nick Martinelli.
Howdy.
Yeah.
Well, say howdy back.
You want to give old Nick a break? How they hanging, troops?
Oh, real mature Nick.
Yeah.
Oh, there's Daddy. You're not here to be smart, you're here to learn.
Uh-huh. What are you guys making?
A piano.
Show.
Kind of slow-witted, ain't he?
Real slow.
Oh, Lord, I miss you.
I miss you too, sugar. Mercy, don't you look sassy.
Well, thank you, Daddy. I want you to meet somebody. This here's Nick.
Howdy.
What's he doing?
Well, he's trying to say howdy, Daddy.
Oh, well, howdy.
How you doing? How you doing? Good.
Fine.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, I can't wait to get to the house. Would you get the bags, Nick?
Excuse me. Done? Thank you. Bags, okay.
Yeah, kind of slow-witted, ain't he?
Oh, you'll be all right, Daddy.
That's Richard Farnsworth as Dolly's father, and you can almost predict the rest of this movie. Sly learns to sing country, and he falls in love with Dolly, although their love affair in this movie is so chaste and so innocent, you could play their sex scene at a Sunday school picnic. They almost seem afraid to touch each other in this movie, and that's where the trouble comes in. It doesn't feel like two flesh-and-blood characters are involved here. It feels more like a summit meeting between two of the great movie superpowers. The movie protects Stallone's and Parton's images so carefully that it never takes chances, and it never really takes off.
I didn't like it either, and I'll give you another reason why there aren't two characters up there. Two characters weren't written in the script. Dolly Parton isn't playing anything differently than if she'd appeared on somebody's variety show. She walks in, she's Dolly Parton, but she doesn't play it above it, smarter or stupider than she is, so there's nothing special there. Stallone, he's a little bit of a cab driver in the scene there we saw by the locker, but then after that he's just sort of a wild man through the film, and also he seems above this material, sort of wisecracking at all of it, all that's going on. So there aren't two characters out there. We want to see these people engage each other. We don't have two characters.
When I heard the premise for the movie, I thought it was a good premise. First of all, the story has worked for everybody from George Bernard Shaw straight through to Lerner and Loewe. It's a good story, but also make her a country singer. Make him a cab driver. Write him some lines. Give him a life that makes you think he's a New Yorker. He's not a New Yorker in this movie. Sometimes he's acting goofy. Other times he's acting strange. He doesn't seem to really be a street-smart guy, and so the entire movie seems to be, in every scene, what can we think of in this scene that would be cute to do? It's really a disappointment.
My old test on these things is, would it be more interesting to watch these two actors have lunch offset and listen to their conversation than watch them in a movie like this? Lunch would have been more interesting. Too bad. Our next stinker of the year is Rhinestone, with can't-miss casting that missed. Sylvester Stallone plays the New York cabbie who Dolly Parton, on a bet, tries to turn into a country singer in sort of a My Fair Cab Driver story. All that these two big stars do is trade insults and lowbrow humor, including just what we all needed to see, another barroom brawl.
Hold it right there, Nick. Wait, what do you think you're doing?
It's vendetta time.
Hey, look, violence ain't the way. And besides, I want to do it.
Oh!
Take that, slimestone cowboy.
What are you, Jane Wayne?
Well, he had it coming.
I was supposed to do that.
Well, it's too late.
What do you mean too late? It was my duty.
Maybe next time.
What next time?
You blood in my nose.
Oh, you get out of here. You're giving me a sissy complex.
Hey, why don't we just swing a little?
What about my complex?
Well, it looks clear enough to me.
Don't be funny. You're wrecking my masculinity. You know that?
All right, the bull's mad now.
How am I supposed to handle this?
Well, I think we just did. My hero!
Not mine. Now, wasn't that fresh and original? You know, they should just have a sign come up on the screen for moments like that, a sign that reads, generic barroom brawl scene. Then they can get on with the rest of the story. And there really isn't much of a story here because Sylvester Stallone doesn't bother to act here. You didn't see him acting there. He just plays Sylvester Stallone on the Johnny Carson show, taking a tour of a Hollywood set designer's version of Appalachia, and then he gets to sing, and sing badly, a country song. In fact, he sings almost as much as Dolly Parton in this film, which is precisely what we don't want to hear or see. Rhinestone is really quite awful.
It really is bad. You know it's too bad because these people, instead of looking for roles that can challenge them, as Dolly Parton was in 9 to 5, or as obviously Stallone was in Rocky, are now looking to package the image and just retail it for as much as...
Well, they get an enormous amount of money, and I think the energy just stops there. Rather than Stallone working with no money in the bank, look what he creates. He creates a Rocky.
You're right. You're right.
Our next movie is named Rambo, First Blood Part 2. It continues the saga of the Sylvester Stallone character named John Rambo, a returned Vietnam veteran who in the last movie went on a rampage attacking the injustices of American society against soldiers who fought in Vietnam and then when they came home were ignored, according to Rambo. He blew up half a town in that movie and wiped out dozens of law enforcement officials, so naturally, as Rambo 2 opens, he's in prison, but he's set free by his old commanding officer, played by Richard Crenna, who has a secret mission for Rambo. He wants him to go back to Vietnam and photograph, only photograph, a camp where he suspects American POWs are being held, and if they only want snapshots...
They got the wrong guy.
They got the wrong guy.
This guy's going to push the button on that camera because his finger's going to go all the way through the whole Nikon.
He's going to be lined up with a handful of crushed Nikons. In this scene, Crenna talks to Charles Napier, who plays the bad guy, the Army intelligence officer in charge of the region, about the Army's commitment, or lack of commitment, to John Rambo.
And what the hell would you do, Troutman? Pay blackmail money to ransom our own men and finance the war effort against our allies? What if some burnout POW shows up on the 6 o'clock news? What do you want to do? Start the war all over again? You want to bomb Hanoi? Want everybody screaming for armed invasion? You think somebody's going to get up on the floor of the United States Senate and ask for billions of dollars for a couple of forgotten ghosts? Men who fought for the Katasana! Problem? I'm going to forget this conversation ever took place. And if I were you, I'd never make the mistake of bringing this subject up again.
You're the one who's making the mistake.
Yeah, what mistake?
Rambo.
Back on the ground in Southeast Asia, John Rambo doesn't bother with photographs. He turns into a one-man army. I love that scene where he comes out of the mud bank, and it's typical of a lot of scenes in Rambo where Stallone is magically able to predict exactly where the enemy is going to stand, what the enemy is going to do, and when the enemy is going to come. It leaves you with a couple of questions, like if that guy hadn't walked right past that exact spot of that muddy riverbank, what would Stallone have done? Count the worms?
He would have had a Southeast Asian facial.
Right, he just would have been standing there. And another thing, when he was, now this is a logistical problem, when he's packing himself with mud,
right,
how does he cover up his own arm, the last arm that he's doing the job? How does he get that last hand underneath the mud?
So what we have here is a movie full of logical mistakes, a movie with a premise that we don't agree with, and yet I go the same way with you as an action picture. Now, somebody will say there should be a higher principle here in movie criticism. But I'm just telling you, when I watched the film and I caught every mistake, I didn't catch the one about the hand coming out. Good for you on that. I sat there and said, this is fun, and the movie carried me along. It's, I think, a little under 90 minutes.
It's real high energy. That dogfight between the helicopters is well shot, well edited. Rambo, the Sylvester Stallone character, is a very appealing, very, very, very simple guy. He has about 12 or 15 words in the whole film, and they surround him with a couple of just a couple of other people. Crinna and Napier are the only two really other major characters in the film. It's like a comic book. And on that level, it works. The politics still have, I don't know if it's left wing, right wing. I think it's...
No, I think it's called ignorant. Coming up next at the movies?
As most everyone knows by now, in Rocky IV, Rocky Balboa, the working man's hero, fights a machine-like Russian champion named Ivan Drago. How tough is Drago? This tough.
And shall we have a demonstration? Please do. A normal heavyweight averages 700 pounds of pressure per square inch. Drago averages 1,850 pounds. But that's so the result quite obvious. And what results are those? Whatever he hits, he destroys.
But before Rocky fights Drago, Apollo Creed, the ex-champ, decides he wants to win back his self-respect by taking on Drago himself. We suspect it's a dumb move.
Can I ask you something? So, you know, the fight you're having against the Russians, you think maybe it ain't against him?
If it's not him, Stallion, who's it against?
Or do you think maybe it's like you against you? What do you think?
No, I think you're really on your brain damage. That's what I think, Stallion.
Well, maybe, but really, I'm speaking the truth here, pal.
Are you?
Yeah.
I don't think I want to hear this, Stallion.
Oh, come on. Hey, Paulo, look. You're a great fighter, no doubt about that. But look, we got to face the facts, too. You don't want to believe it, but maybe the show is over.
And that's easy for you to say. You're still on top.
Of course, Drago beats Apollo. If Drago lost, think about it, he'd be back in Russia and the whole movie would be over. Instead, he creams Apollo, and early on in their fight, he's whipping Rocky.
What's happening out there?
He's winning. I see three of them out there.
Get the one in the middle. Right. Get the one in the middle. Yeah. this round. Rocky's been hit with bombs. Rocky Balboa trying to stay in the middle of the ring against the big Russian.
Now, this may surprise you, but I really like Rocky IV a lot.
That does surprise me. I'm amazed.
Well, then I'm going to be amazed at you. Let me explain why. Okay. I knew what was going to happen in this picture. I mean, everyone knows what's going to happen in this picture, yet I got caught up in both of its fights. I even got a little bit caught up. This is almost embarrassing to admit. In the 15th round of that fight, I thought somebody's going to play a trick on me. I got caught up in it. I enjoyed Rocky's brief moments with his wife and his son, which I had wanted in Rocky III and didn't get enough of. In fact, my only complaint is that there weren't enough of those scenes in this Rocky IV. The original Rocky worked because of its love story, I think, as well as its boxing. And Stallone, the writer and director, has de-emphasized the love angle throughout all of the series, and to their detriment. But what he does know how to do, and this is what makes this film work, is create a great, colorful villain. First, the brash Apollo Creed in #1. Then Rocky II, my favorite, the villain was really Rocky himself, his overblown ego. Then in Rocky III, that mad dog, Clubber Lang, played by Mr. T. Now, Ivan Drago, well played by the Adonis-like Dolph Lundgren. He's a great villain, and we sit back there and enjoy this film. It's a great hour and a half to eat popcorn by, and I want more, because he can make another great villain. I want Rocky V.
I don't want Rocky V. Please don't give me Rocky V. I thought
you'd rather have Halloween 5.
I wouldn't rather have Halloween 5, and I don't want Friday the 13th 5. What I'm amazed about is that you wanted Rocky IV. This movie is the bottom of the barrel. At the beginning, the first half hour, every scene is obligatory. He has to check in with Adrian. He has to talk to his brother-in-law. Here's little Rocky Jr.
What would you have him do? Meet a whole bunch of new people?
Well, I think that would be interesting. Yes, as a matter of fact. He had a great idea in 1976 and made a great movie based on that idea about a real human being named Rocky Balboa and his touching love affair with this girl. Now Balboa has turned into this egotistical monster who takes over the entire movie. The other little people in his life have their run-ons. Then there's the fight at the 1/3 mark where somebody loses, and the fight is the 2/3 mark where Rocky
you haven't told me
This
anything.
movie is absolutely formula. It is predictable. It is uninspired, and it is not exciting. And even the fight at the end, which usually works for me, didn't work this time.
Roger, you've liked some of the others in the series too, so they've been formula.
As a matter of fact,
and you knew exactly what's going to happen then.
That's right.
And I'm telling you that this time, this villain, we've complained about Clint Eastwood not coming up with great villains. We've complained with the James Bond series not coming up with great villains. It's a common flaw.
Let me ask you one question.
Tell me, is Ivan Drago a good villain or a bad villain?
Let me ask.
No, answer that one first.
He's a moderately interesting villain, but let me ask you an even better question. How come he never has a single scene along with his wife? The woman who does all of the speaking for him. How come she's such a big character and has 9 times more dialogue than he has?
Because he's supposed to be stolid and a tough Russian.
Maybe
punched, she talked.
Maybe it's because she's played by Stallone's girlfriend.
I think she did a nice job.
Because I think if he'd been allowed to take over all of that dialogue and be more of a character, it would have been a lot better than him sitting there silently while Bridget Nielsen has all of the best lines.
I don't think so.
You don't think so? Well, I do think so.
As I said, he punched, she talked. Coming up next in the movie, a mother fears that her adopted daughter may have...
And, of course, no fight movie, no Rocky movie, no other fight movie is ever complete without the hero being beaten almost senseless before he pulls himself up and wins that fight.
I would like to see, remember Mad Magazine, they would say, scenes we'd like to see?
Yeah.
We're talking about scenes we've seen too much and scenes that we'd like to see differently. For example, I'd like to see Rocky in his next scene, in his next movie, come out, flatten a guy with one punch, end it.
The movie's over.
Also new on the video shelves this week is Sylvester Stallone's Dirty Harry imitation Cobra, which had a terrific opening scene. Stallone is a Dirty Harry type cop, blew away a creep in a supermarket, but then the film ran downhill with endless chases that show you 50 ways to leave your motorcycle. A lot of noise, but it's boring, very boring, and that's a shame because this film started out like a powerhouse, and then I think the audience sensed that Stallone really didn't have anything to say in this film that Clint Eastwood and his company, the director Don Siegel, didn't say better 15 years earlier in Dirty Harry.
One of the things that's disappointing about Stallone is that he really hasn't realized that potential that he showed in his early pictures to be an actor who was able to combine tenderness and humor and a real screen presence with violence. Here, he could just as well be some animated hero on some Saturday morning kiddie show for all of the depth that he has. has.
No depth at all, just a lot of firepower.
The new Sylvester Stallone movie will not look very new, I'm afraid, to a lot of his fans. It has the same old formula as the Rocky movies. A long build-up and then the big climactic title fight. The only thing different this time is the sport, which is arm wrestling. Now, you may not have thought, and I may not have thought, that arm wrestling was a major league event anywhere outside of saloons, truck stops, and junior high school cafeterias, but this movie ends with the World Arm Wrestling Championship in a Las Vegas hotel, and I guess anything you can bet on, you can get a Las Vegas hotel to sponsor. As the movie begins, Stallone is a divorced father who hasn't seen his son in 10 years. Now the mother is dying and wants them to get together again soon, maybe for some fatherly advice like this.
Grandfather always said you were a loser. Now you're trying to make me one, and I hate you for it.
Mike, I don't care what your grandfather thinks about me, okay? All I care about is you. Now, you lost back there because you beat yourself. You let yourself get beat. I know you can do it. You're a special kid. You're my boy, do you understand? But you're also a spoiled, rich brat who's always had everything done for him. Now it's time to do for yourself, Mike, and you can do it. Because I'm telling you, the world meets nobody halfway. Do you understand what that means? If you want it, Mike, you gotta take it.
The kid's grandfather hates Stallone and steals the kid, and then this is how Stallone, a truck driver, turns up at the mansion to get his kid back. After that, Stallone needs a new truck, and he hopes to win one in a Vegas showdown against the other arm wrestling champs.
Right now, double or nothing. What do you say?
Let's just wait for Vegas.
Come on, let's do it now. I feel like kicking some ass.
Let's wait till Vegas, okay?
You ain't got a prayer in Vegas.
Of course, everything depends on the big tournament in Vegas, including winning the respect of his son. And one of the questions that I had all during this movie was why Stallone didn't haul off and belt that kid all the way across the room. Of course, you don't see him at his most obnoxious there. I didn't think I was going to find arm wrestling very thrilling in this movie, but I have to be honest and report that the championship matches are exciting, even though arm wrestling doesn't exactly have the speed and poetry of boxing, or for that matter, any other sport. The match is exciting, but the film is predictable, and once again, Stallone does not allow his movie wife to upstage him in a movie. This time she's played by Susan Blakely, and she has 2 dumb telephone scenes with nobody else in them, and then she dies off camera. Her only, oh, your mother is dead. Her only function is to set it up so that everything depends on Stallone proving that he loves his son. I would have liked this movie better if they'd forgotten about the wife and the son and the grandfather and Stallone, for that matter, and just concentrated on the arm wrestlers, who all seemed a lot more interesting than any of the main characters in the movie.
I just must reemphasize the kid. The kid plays a very large role. They know that they don't have a lot to show with arm wrestling. I mean, how many times can you go this way and this way? You know, I mean, it just isn't kind of that thrilling intrinsically of a sport. So, watch a metronome, you get the same effect. But the kid occupies probably 2/3 of the picture, and the kid is cloying, obnoxious, just not a good actor. It is totally predictable. The one trick you learn is that Stallone puts his hands here. Give me your hand. Remember he goes up like this. When he wins that way, wouldn't you think that some of the other guys would figure it out and they would try and get the advantage over the top? No.
Yeah, then you also always have some kind of an expertise gimmick at the end. For example, when their hands are so sweaty, they slip apart, so they have to bring out the strap.
Get the strap together.
You're thinking, gee, this is a whole lot of minutia about a sport that is itself nothing but minutia.
You got it. Yes, we could give you a regular worst films of the year list full of stupid teenage movies, but they aren't worth a second look, even a derisive one. Rather, this year, let's take a look back at where some of our biggest stars went wrong and why. For example, Sylvester Stallone, the highest-paid actor of them all, stumbled badly with his arm wrestling drama, Over the Top. Remember that, baby? Let's face it, that sport just isn't exciting enough to carry a feature film. I don't know what's more exciting there, the fingernails or the sweat. The movie is also about Stallone trying to win back his son after Stallone has been divorced. Their scenes carry no drama either.
Grandfather always said you were a loser. Now you're trying to make me one, and I hate you for it.
The world meets nobody halfway. Do you understand what that means? If you want it, Mike, you gotta take it.
What inspirational dialogue. And as for the arm wrestling, well, Johnny Carson gave this film a great review before it opened. I remember in his monologue, he said that the sequel was going to be about thumb wrestling. Over the top was ill-conceived from the beginning. Stallone just took his reported $12 million guarantee and gave us something I might think would be like Rocky 55. I mean, it is really bad.
Every time I see a Stallone movie these days, I think back with regret to the Stallone that was, the person who really had a quirky individual sense of humor and a real screen presence and is not packaging himself in these, you know, one monster role after another. It's a real loss. Now, next movie. Our next movie is Rambo III, the further adventures of John Rambo, Vietnam veteran and one-man army, as played by Sylvester Stallone, as a man of increasingly fewer words. In fact, although I didn't have an opportunity to count every word in Rambo, and I don't think I'll go back to do that.
Actually, you did have an opportunity.
Well,
you chose not to do it.
Time. I'd be willing to bet that Stallone speaks fewer than 200 words in the entire movie. Of course, he makes up for that with a lot of action scenes. The story this time finds Rambo in semi-retirement, putting a new roof on the temple of some Buddhist monks that he lives with in Thailand. Then one day, he gets a visitor, Richard Crenna, as his old superior officer and best friend, who wants him to go on a mission against the Russians in Afghanistan.
I know the reasons you're here, John, but it doesn't work that way. You may try, but you can't get away from what you really are.
And what do you think I am?
A full-blooded combat soldier.
Not anymore. I don't want it.
That's too bad, because you're stuck with it. You're always going to be tearing away at yourself until you come to terms with what you are. Until you come full circle.
A little later, though, when Rambo finds out that the Russians have captured his friend, he changes his mind.
From what we've gathered, Troutman and the rest of his party have been taken to a regional command post.
What about me?
What about you?
Can you get me in?
In Afghanistan, Russian helicopters attack Rambo and the local freedom fighter. A lot of the movie involves Rambo's attempt to infiltrate the Russian fortress where his friend is being tortured. But look how this scene ends. I always love it when Rambo can jump out of the water, know exactly where to shoot, and he doesn't even have to look first, and his gun is never waterlogged. Rambo III is kind of a hard movie to review, and I'm going to tell you why. Because just on the merchandising level, talking about the movie at retail, where you pay your $6 or $7 and you take your seat and look at the movie, it does deliver the goods. It provides what it promises. Lots of action, lots of stunts, explosions, special effects, a lot of excitement. I don't fault it there, but what I miss is any other level above that basic action level. Stallone has shown before that he can be an interesting actor with a good sense of humor, but here he seems to want to play Rambo as kind of a fighting machine. I know that's the idea, but still, it robs the movie of its humanity, of the kind of wit and self-satire that makes something like the James Bond pictures work better with a lot of the same kinds of material. Rambo III has the hardware, but it doesn't have the heart. I don't know how to review it. I guess yes to the fact that it delivers, and no to the fact that it doesn't do anything more than deliver. So finally, like this. But how do I got those flying thumbs again, right? Okay, go ahead.
I just want to let you sit there and stew.
I'm just busy with my thumbs.
Yes, all right. Now here comes the definitive answer.
Good,
Very
good.
easy.
Okay, fine.
Thumbs up.
Okay.
And the reason is because it does deliver. It would be a better film if it had a heart, which Rambo II did. A real cause. Admittedly simplistic, but mourning for the missing in action soldiers. You're right about it. This does not take the side of the Afghanistans. We don't get into that problem. We don't feel for it at all. You're right. But on the physical stunt level and excitement level, entertainment level, for me, the film works. It gets a pass on that score.
Well, okay.
It's the identical review, but I just give it up.
Yeah,
I say it's good. It entertained me.
It's interesting. We are kind of right here in the middle on that one.
I liked it.
You're on the
I'm
top
just
and I'm in the
definitive.
middle. Okay, fine.
I'm not going to spend my life running from you.
Our next film is called Tango and Cash, a lethal weapon wannabe about two cops that is ultimately an exhausting, unhappy entertainment thanks to a hyper-violent story that has feuding cop partners Sylvester Stallone and Kurt Russell emptying a virtual munitions factory of firepower into a gang of drug-dealing mobsters led by Jack Palance. And the boys, and these truly are boys, meet cute as they are both sent from competing police districts in Los Angeles to the same drug deal. They know of each other's drug-busting reputations.
You know me, huh?
Yeah, I hear you're the second best cop in L.A.
That's funny. I hear the same thing about you.
The drug dealers soon arrange through crooked cops to frame both Tango and Cash, and that forces the boys to bicker even more.
My lawyer wants me to cop a plea.
Yeah, mine too. 18 months, Lompoc Federal Country Club. I think you'll love it. I understand they open the gym at 5 a.m. You can start pumping early.
Predictably, the movie ends with its biggest display of firepower as the boys are outfitted with a souped-up RV in which they attack the gangsters' headquarters.
Subtle. Real subtle. We're in.
You've seen that before, and the noise and the explosions and the constant gunplay are truly tiresome. Having seen both Lethal Weapon films recently, these jokes seem lame, and the rivalry of the boys seems fraudulent. Both Stallone and Russell are essentially playing the same want-to-be-liked character, only their clothes are different. For all of the action, Tango and Cash is a boring film, and that's important because in the Lethal Weapon pictures, they were two different characters.
You see, it's not that I don't like movies about two cops and lots of special effects. It's just that I don't like bad movies about two cops and lots of special effects. And Tango and Cash is a waste of valuable electricity. I mean, I think they should have just not made this movie. There is nothing there that is worth anybody's time to see. It's a no-brainer movie. It doesn't even make the slightest difference when you walk in. You can start this movie at any time. If you happen to have it at home on videotape, you know, you can just start it at random and then rewind it and come in from the beginning. It's a loop. It's a loop of very few wisecracks, lots of explosions, lots of guns, Jack Palance playing with his mice, which is supposed to make him into some kind of a character, plus his obsolete TV screens that were out about 10 years ago that he's so proud of.
There's no, I mean, I reviewed it, you just dismissed it. Let's get on to the next.
Let's move on. Right, next.
Our first film is Rocky V, and it's a sometimes pleasing finale for the series. Pleasing when it gives us back the original Rocky of the streets that captivated us in the first movie. This final chapter opens with Rocky punch-drunk from the fight in Rocky IV.
I can't.
You're fine.
I can't stop my hands from shaking.
His brain is damaged and he retires. Then, when bad investments force him back to his Philadelphia neighborhood, Rocky turns trainer, helping a young fighter, a young Rocky named Tommy Gunn, battle for a title shot.
Stop! Listen, the only difference between the hero and the coward is the hero's willing to go for it, all right? Willing to take the shot, okay? Now this guy over here is scared too. You're scared, he's scared, you're both scared. Remember?
Rocky becomes so involved with this young fighter, he stops paying attention to his son, played by Stallone's real son, Sage.
You don't worry about it.
I gotta worry about it. I mean, the deal was we were supposed to be tight, right?
What about Tommy? You tight with him too, huh?
But when Tommy becomes champ, a Don King-type promoter tries to manipulate a fight between him and Rocky.
This guy here, he was using you for the bait. He wants to get you and me in the ring. That's what he wants us to fight each other, you know, to make the money, right? He don't care about you, Tommy don't care about me neither.
That side of him in the hat is kind of sweet, especially when you know it's probably going to be the last time you'll see it. The two big fights in the movie are also very well done, and Rocky's moments in the street are effective. What's missing, I think, here is a big love scene between Rocky and his wife, Adrian. Love scenes, I think, are as important as fights in this series, and I also would have loved to have seen the more daring ending that was originally planned in the film. It's received a lot of publicity, in which Rocky dies in Adrian's arms. Still, I like this guy with his dumb hat, and I vote thumbs up on the movie.
I vote a thumbs down, Gene. I thought that the structure of the film was completely predictable from the other films. And although I like the fact that he's got his hat on again and he's back on the streets of Philadelphia, that was only a reminder to me of the richness and the texture and the humor and the humanity of the dialogue and the characters in the first movie, Rocky, which, remember, won the Academy Award for Best Picture of the Year. And now it's just a series. You have to find a new villain every time. You have to end with a big fight. The pieces are all just plugged in. There's no real juice in this movie.
Okay, well, I was fooled by the fight in the picture. It doesn't end technically with the fight, and I enjoyed the ending that was chosen. It goes in a different direction. The other thing is, I think that there is a lot of his humor is still in the film, that character's humor. And when he walks through the streets, the only thing that I think is wrong with it is that it is missing the love element that was so strong, not only in one, but in two.
Well, the whole love was the subject of the first Rocky.
I believe so.
And Adrian, ever since then, has been kind of put on the shelf. And it always seemed to me like if it were Adrian and Rocky facing the world, they'd be stronger pictures.
Number two had that. This one could have used used it. Okay. So you didn't like anything this week. Rocky V, I think it's more than just a fight. I enjoyed the humor of the picture. I enjoyed seeing him in the street. I enjoyed one discussion he has with his kid. It's a good film.
And our first film is Oscar, and this comedy accomplishes something few films do, and that is makes a very funny comeback after a nearly disastrous opening 20 minutes. We go to see a lot of pictures, and if it doesn't work in the first reel, they don't save themselves. This one, I think, does. Sylvester Stallone stars as a Depression-era mobster named Snaps Provolone, who is trying to go straight to please his dying father, Kirk Douglas, as the film opens awkwardly.
Swear, in front of your family, in front of Padre Clemente, in front of Jesus Cristo, in front of Madonna.
What?
Swear, you become honest man. Give up the shameful life.
Well, Pop.
It's kind of lame and obvious, and not much better is another early scene where a young mob accountant, Vincent Spano, asks Stallone for his daughter's hand in marriage.
My daughter? How do you know my daughter?
Actually, Spano is in love with a young woman who isn't Snaps' daughter. She's only pretending to be. The real daughter is a whining pill played by Marisa Tomei.
You're not going to marry that monkey. You're going to marry the man I picked out for you, Bruce Underwood III.
I don't want to marry Bruce Underwood. He's a snob and he's got pimples.
After all that, though, the movie Oscar finally gets rolling with some very funny scene-stealing supporting players, a couple of fastidious, quarreling tailors, the Finucci brothers, played by Martin Ferrero, and the chameleon-like Harry Shearer. Snaps complains to them about his need for his daughter to find a husband, and she's told him, falsely, that she's pregnant.
No, look at us. We already married.
See, we married real good.
I got them bambinos. You got eight.
You know got them bambinos.
I got them bambinos.
Oh.
I got Anna Maria. I got Salvatore. I got Fabrizio. I got Antonio. I got Mario. I got Big Luigi. I got Little Luigi.
Oh, by the way, congratulations on your daughter marrying Bruce Underwood.
Don Amici has a cameo as a priest, and here we meet briefly the film's funniest character, a language tutor, Dr. Poole, played by Tim Curry, assigned to help Snaps snap up his vocabulary.
Anthony, she's not marrying him anymore.
What? Well, that's a shame. But she's young. Someday she'll find the right one.
She's found the right one.
Who?
Dr. Poole.
Dr. Poole?
Hello?
Now the film is cooking, and we get a clever, fast-talking scene between Snaps and his dumbest henchman, talking about daughters and marriages and pregnancies and identical suitcases full of money and jewels and women's underwear.
No, you blockhead. He stole it, then he gave it back to me.
Why'd he give it back to you?
To buy back the jewels.
What jewels?
The jewels he stole from me.
He stole jewels from you, too?
Yeah, so he could marry my daughter.
Lisa.
That Lisa Teresa.
How come nobody's never met this daughter, Teresa?
Because she's not my daughter, capiche?
Yeah. Your daughter's not your daughter. And the cash that used to be the jewels is now your underwear.
Now you got it.
I got it. I don't even know what I'm talking about.
I'm not sure if a scene like that works out of context, but within the film, that stuff is very funny. Oscar is a funny throwback to the tightly written, lickety-split comedies of the 30s, and it is very funny at times. It's a pleasure to encounter a script and a storyline that has been really well thought out. This is based on a French play and a movie, and the adaptation is terrific. Stallone is just okay, I think, as the lead, but it's the supporting cast, all these crazies that are constantly walking in and out, that really recommend Oscar.
You know, you put your finger right on it. This movie started slowly. I am not a fan of comedies about gangsters set in the early 30s with all of the running boards on the cars and the fedora hats and everything. This stuff has been done so often, I'm sitting there thinking, boy, this is really a dog, you know, and then I laughed. And then I laughed again. Then the Finucci brothers came in, and I really started laughing. And then when Tim Curry comes in as that Dr. Poole, the elocution coach, I was laughing and then at the end of the movie, I sat there and I said, I don't know how this movie did it, but it did just what you said it did. It turned itself around. It's a good movie. It's a funny movie. It really is.
It doesn't happen very often, and I don't think it was set up to turn itself around. I think the comedy was very bad with the Kirk Douglas slapping Stallone and all this sort of stuff. Doesn't work at all. Stallone, I think, doesn't have the best comedy time.
Stallone's character has to be the center of things, in a way. Stallone has to kind of stand there and be the straight man, and they just keep throwing one character after another at him. It's a thankless role, and I think he does just fine.
Well, except that when he runs up the stairs, like, he runs too fast. He doesn't run like a mobster. He runs like Rocky Balboa. I mean, I think that's a mistake.
Let him do it. That's okay.
Stop or My Mom Will Shoot is shockingly bad, or let me put it this way. If this doesn't turn out to be one of the very worst movies of the year, It's going to be a very bad year. Think about that. Sylvester Stallone plays a Los Angeles cop afflicted with a visiting nosy old biddy of a mother played by Golden Girl Estelle Getty.
Oh, I see you've given up shaving.
No, I shaved.
Hi, Kitty.
So this is little Joey, huh? Looks a lot different in clothes. We've got to be getting along now, Tootie, but thanks a lot for showing us the photos. You know, you looked real sexy in those diapers.
Breakfast! Mom! Oh, please, you don't have anything I haven't seen before.
Another would-be big moment is when Getty walks in on Stallone taking a shower. Here's what his butt looks like. That's entertainment.
Pixie and I thought we'd pop into the station this afternoon, you know, see where you work, meet a few of your friends.
Oh!
Did you cut yourself?
God. No!
And then there's the comedy scene in which she buys him a present to help him catch some gun runners. The present is, oh, you're going to love this, a gun.
You bought a machine gun off the back of a van?
I tried in the store, but they said I had to cool off.
Mom, you could go to jail for this. Why didn't you tell me?
Because I wanted it to be a surprise.
It is!
Oh, brother, in all honesty, I was absolutely shocked when I saw Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. Where is the humor? Is it supposed to be funny when Getty shoots the bad guy and then swears in exhilaration, an old lady using foul language? Do you know how tired that is? And I really think Sylvester Stallone is breaking faith with his audience. He's too good of a writer himself, the Rocky pictures, not to know that this script really stunk.
It stinks. I think you're even almost being a little bit easy on it. This is one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
Okay, I'll submit
It has no funny moments.
None.
It has no interesting moments.
None.
It has no interesting characters.
None.
Even the dialogue is done in such a way that the actors themselves seemed almost
Tired.
embarrassed when they were talking.
If this script had been submitted to the half-hour show, The Golden Girls with Estelle Getty, they would have rejected it for not being substantial enough for a 22 or 24-minute TV show. It's nothing there.
It is one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
Okay, my next lousy movie is another failed comedy, and when there are no laughs in a comedy, it can get real ugly inside a movie theater, and that's the kind of loathing I felt toward Stop or My Mom Will Shoot, in which the central gag is that big, tough Sylvester Stallone has a small, even tougher mother played by Estelle Getty from The Golden Girls. Here's the humor as she misunderstands and dominates him.
Breakfast!
Mom, no!
You need some iodine?
No, Mom, no!
And he must whine at her mom at least a half-dozen times in this picture, a would-be action comedy in which Stallone battles mobsters. Again, I think all creativity stopped with simply the casting in this picture. And even that didn't work. I didn't believe for a second that these two actors even remotely liked each other. They were in Stop or My Mom Will Shoot just to cash a check, I'm sure.
And once again, they're probably, you know, the funny thing about a comedy is you can't know until it's all over that it's not funny, because this material could probably have been handled by different actors, a different director, and a different screenplay.
There you go.
In such a way that it might have been funny, but in this case, they struck out all three times.
No, I just think that really said, hey, we got Stallone, and then we'll take Estelle Getty.
Oh, that's funny, yeah.
End of
At which
creativity.
point somebody in the boardroom should have said,
yeah, what are
why is that funny?
Sarah, that's great. You're starting to look like a pro. Keep going. That's it, nice and easy. Hey, Al, we're going to be out of a job soon. All right, a little more, Sarah. That's it.
That's Sylvester Stallone as a mountain rescue expert in Cliffhanger, the new action picture from director Rennie Harlan, whose Die Hard 2 was such a kick. But this time, with more spectacular scenery, Harlan doesn't have a very good story to tell. In fact, the movie is filled with howlingly bad scenes. Stallone is a mountain rescue guide whose life is changed when he foolishly blames himself for a rescue attempt that goes fatally wrong.
I don't want to die!
Sarah! Reach up and grab him! Reach up! Sarah, reach up!
Come on, honey! Use your other hand!
Reach up!
Reach up now!
Stallone quits his job, becomes a hermit, but naturally he's talked into making a comeback to foil a bunch of thieves, led by John Lithgow, who have stolen a massive amount of U.S. currency and crash-landed with it in the mountains. The centerpiece of the film is a series of mountaintop battles, but the silliest is between Stallone and a bad guy as they slide toboggan-style downhill. Stallone wildly overacts through the film, grimacing constantly, while his female partner, played by Janine Turner from TV's Northern Exposure, is as calm and as pretty as can be. It's like Rocky Balboa meets a model from the Land's End catalog.
Cliffhanger has all of the impact of one of those car commercials where they stick the automobile on top of a peak, leaving you to wonder how it got there and then how it's going to be brought down. I assume they do it with a helicopter, and that's how the people in this movie probably got where they go, too. I just wonder why they went to all that effort without a compelling story. The villains are dull, and Stallone and his fellow climbers are even worse.
Gee, I don't know, Gene.
Oh, no, not this.
Yes. And first of all, to call John Lithgow dull, I think, is an insult. I think he's very good.
Oh, just compare him with the villain in Die Hard 2.
I like Lithgow very much in this film, but another thing, and maybe it's because I have a special relationship to heights, because I'm afraid of them. Yeah. But I thought the mountain climbing stuff in this movie was truly sensational. It was well made. The special effects, if that's what they were well done. There are shots where you can see that it's really Stallone up there because they use a telephoto lens. And I got a feeling of vertigo. I got a feeling of involvement and fear. And the movie did work for me. It worked.
Roger, that stuff is stunt work. That's
I don't care.
It's not a story. It's not a story. It's not a story.
You don't like any movie that uses stunt work? You just said you like Die Hard 2. That was stunt work, too. In fact, you know what? That wasn't a real building or whatever.
Roger, let me explain something to you.
First Die Hard,
Wait
but never mind.
I said that's stunt work. They don't have a story. Die Hard 2 had a story.
I don't care. I don't care.
Well,
I really don't care, because what I'm involved with from moment to moment is the fact that they're on the mountain, they're fighting with each other, and if they're not careful, they're going to fall off, and I'm in my seat, and I hope that they don't fall off because I'm scared. Now, that's on that level the movie works, and that's the level that most people will go to see it at. They're not going to sit there and say, oh, this is stunt work.
No, Roger. The reason why I say it is stunt work, it's good stunt work. My point is that there's no story supporting it.
Oh,
you're praising No, Roger, you're praising this movie for not having a story.
I'm praising the movie for what it's about, and you're criticizing it for what doesn't matter.
No. Since when has a movie story doesn't matter, except in your review of Made in America, where it didn't matter either?
Gene, if I had more time, I'd be happy to help you with this. Okay.
Okay. Our next movie and our next film is called Demolition Man with Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes. It's been in release, as you probably know, for a few weeks. But we're just catching up with it because Warner Brothers didn't want to screen the picture for us before its opening, or for, I guess, a lot of the press. We recently returned from vacation, so now we're just getting to it, and although I can't exactly recommend Demolition Man, it does have a funny, offbeat script. The year is 2032, the place Los Angeles, after a big earthquake, and violence has been eradicated in a new totalitarian state. But the piece is broken by a criminal from the 90s on the loose. Wesley Snipes recently thawed out after having been on ice for 40 years in a cryogenic prison. Also thawed out is Sylvester Stallone, a tough cop from the 90s. He and Snipes have a history together.
I tracked that dirtbag for 2 years. When I finally bring him down, you turn me into an ice cube for my trouble.
The romantic interest is provided by a police officer played by Sandra Bullock, but times have changed in the more high-tech 2032.
There you go.
Let it flow.
Or just relax. We'll begin in a few seconds.
Begin what?
Having sex, of course.
The violence in the film is routine, but the script by Daniel Waters and Robert Renaud and Peter Lenkov is sprinkled with some smart gags about the 90s made from the vantage point of the 21st century. I didn't care at all about the mano-a-mano between Snipes and Stallone in this picture, but when they weren't fighting, I did smile a lot during Demolition Man.
I smiled a lot, too. In fact, I'm giving this film thumbs up.
Okay.
And the reason for that is that, unlike so many other movies in this genre, it really does have a satiric angle to it. It is really trying to be funny, and it's really trying to comment on the 90s from the point of view of the future. And it does so successfully. In fact, that new world, the brave new world of post-apocalyptic California, is funny in its own right, with the way that people live, and they're always smiling at each other, and everybody's so happy. And it's what life would be like if smiley faces really took over society and everybody became a smiley face pod person.
That part, well, you know, you said basically the same thing I'm saying, which is that part is very funny. Unfortunately, it does have the action material, and none of that worked at all.
Oh, come on now, come on. Now, the action material is pretty high-tech. The special effects are pretty good.
I didn't think that's where we differ.
The fight out at the end, the whole business of the guy who gets frozen and then he's able to be shattered and stuff like that was okay for this kind of movie.
That didn't work for me, but the smiles and the laughs are there. And it's just awful, thanks to endless explosions and a truly bad, truly stiff performance by Sylvester Stallone, playing a former CIA explosives expert hired by Sharon Stone to rub out mobsters who killed her parents when she was a little girl. Stallone's voice is so solemn here, it's laughable.
Don't contact me. I'll contact you.
Maybe I can help you. Let me see.
No. They're my problem now, and I'm theirs.
The explosion scenes in The Specialist seem tired because this is the third Mad Bomber movie we've seen in the last few months, following Speed and Blown Away. Of course, the real fireworks that people want to see are the sex scenes between Stallone and Stone. And we do catch them naked in a shower for about a minute as they show their great bodies. At other times, we get silly sexual posturing between them. The one bright spot in the film, the always entertaining James Woods, here trading insults with old adversary Stallone. Watch and listen to Woods act the stolid Stallone right off the screen.
You killed an innocent bystander, Ray. And it's just eating you up inside, isn't it? But guess what? I'm coming, Ray. I'm coming to take all the pain away.
By the way, that 1 minute of nudity really isn't worth sitting through the dreadfully dull action of The Specialist. During the whole picture, I wanted Stallone to talk faster and drop his Rambo persona in favor of something contemporary. You know, maybe he and James Woods should have switched roles. I wonder what James Woods looked like in the shower.
I don't, frankly, but you know
how I mean that.
You're right about Stallone. He was a lot more entertaining than Cliffhanger, but here it's a thankless role, and furthermore, it's a thankless movie. Now, I don't want to give anything away.
Oh, you always scare me.
Heaven forbid. But there was a character in this movie that wants to kill X people for one reason and Y people for another reason, and it's utterly unconvincing, and it leads to some dead ends in the plot and some loose strings, and you begin to ask yourself questions about motivation, and it's completely ridiculous. And then you get these dumb explosions.
Yes.
And you forgot True Lies, which is another bomb movie that was so much better that the special effects in here are really tawdry by comparison.
Continuing our special show on the absolutely, positively worst movies of 1995, our second category of bad films is called Stupid Superheroes, and I really hated Judge Dredd with Sylvester Stallone, continuing to destroy his reputation by playing an all-in-one, futuristic justice machine, cop, judge, and executioner.
And code 3613, the first-degree murder of your judge. Let me guess, life. Death.
Now, Sylvester Stallone can write wonderful scripts. The first two Rocky pictures are proof. But for years now, he's dropped his pen and turned himself into a creature about as human as a cannon, an international fighting machine who says little and presides over explosions. Judge Dredd was just more of the same. You know, I don't care. You know, out there, he gets $20 million a picture.
I know he does.
What's his reputation worth?
Yeah, well, it's worth $20 million a picture, obviously, because that movie was a big hit overseas, and it made a lot of money. The problem is that people go to see it, and they leave feeling empty, because it hasn't done anything for them, for their imagination. They've just passively absorbed explosions and special effects and chases, and after a while, it just deadens you.
You know, Roger, I never have looked at the camera and talked to an actor. I'm going to break this tradition right now.
Okay.
I know, Stallone, you probably hate my guts. You think I hate you. I don't hate you. I like your talent. I want you to use it. This isn't what you were put on Earth for. You can do this in your sleep, and sometimes it looks like that's exactly what you're doing.
That's very inspirational, Gene. I think I'll make a sermon later in this show, too.
Okay, and I'll pass the plate, too.
If I get inspired. Okay, that's terrific, and we'll sing a hymn together.
Oh, I'd love to hear that.
Okay.
Our first movie is Assassins, and this is a very strange and very boring action movie about two hired hitmen who find themselves competing for the same contracts. As the movie opens, Sylvester Stallone is ready to kill a man when Antonio Banderas does it for him, and so Stallone steals a cab and picks up Banderas in order to confront him.
Who's your contractor, Miguelito?
Why don't you drive? We can get acquainted. Chit-chat.
Is it possible to smash a cab against a bus with a guy hanging out the window and not kill him or even hurt him? I don't think so, but they do it in this movie. Banderas survives, and soon the two men are competing for the same $2 million prize for some secret software stolen by this woman, played by Julianne Moore.
I'm in way over my head, mister. I just went out.
Okay, now here's another question. Is it possible to survive a third-floor gas explosion by holding up a table as a shield? I don't think so, but they do it in this movie. The last part of the movie, which lasts about half an hour or most of a month subjectively, involves a very complicated situation at a Latin American bank where Stallone is going to collect $20 million, and Banderas knows it and is going to shoot him as he leaves the bank, and Stallone knows that and uses more as a lookout, and then Banderas gets tired of waiting for Stallone to come out of the bank, so he leaves his gun outside and goes inside to be sure Stallone is still there, and he is. So Banderas leaves and prepares to shoot him again, and a lot depends on an obviously phony movie set of an old hotel with floors that collapse so perfectly on cue, it's like a ride at Disney World. Now, I'm the guy who says that sometimes you just have to accept things in the movies, but Assassins went way over the top. It is preposterous.
Also, I think it's kind of tired in a sense. Neither actor, I never felt that they were really in jeopardy, either guy. You know that they're a matched pair if you think of the design of the story, so they must march through the story. That takes away a whole lot of the suspense. I want to say this about Stallone. He's toned himself down. He's not playing the big macho RoboCop character. That's refreshing. Other than that, though, who cares about this story?
I don't really have any particular criticisms about any of the performances in the movie. I just think the script is just completely idiotic.
Okay. Sylvester Stallone is at it again, rescuing an assortment of New Yorkers trapped in a collapsed commuter traffic tunnel in daylight. And Stallone himself, I think, has been commenting on this picture by, subsequently to filming this, taking on his first supporting role in 20 years for his next movie, and by saying that maybe his action picture days are numbered. Daylight is a disaster movie set in a tunnel, one linking traffic between Manhattan and New Jersey. It collapses after a hijacked car, driven by a cartoonish, loony thief, cast like all the characters in this picture for the worldwide action market, crashes into trucks illegally carrying toxic substances. This sequence of special effects is well done. Rescue Sylvester Stallone, playing a former chief of emergency medical services for the city, former because he was disgraced when some of his co-workers died in a previous rescue attempt.
What I'm going to try to do is collapse a section of that tube to seal us off from the fire and try to plug that leak.
How do you plan to do that?
I have to use an explosive. Wait, please, let me explain.
Another explosion? That's your idea down here? No wonder you got people killed.
Naturally, a relationship develops between Stallone and the one single woman among the survivors. She's played forgettably by Amy Brenneman.
The hell with me, go! Go! The hell with me!
Another cornball scene, a tunnel cop played by Stan Shaw. He has his neck broken, but still remembers to give his girlfriend a memento. Another disaster movie cliches, the black guys always die in service to the others.
I finally meet a woman I love. I didn't even get the chance to tell her that I love her. Do you think she knows?
Yeah. Some of the effects in Daylight are just fine, but the dialogue is a joke. And as a measure of my boredom, about a half hour into this picture, I became fixated on the critic down the row from me eating some candy. It wasn't Roger. It was John Petrakis from the Chicago Tribune. And I tried to guess the candy he was eating by the sounds he was making. Now, those sounds were more captivating to me than anything going on the screen in Daylight.
Well, I knew it wasn't me because there was still candy left after half an hour. I would mention the movies that this movie rips off, except we don't have time on a half-an-hour show. This is the Poseidon Adventure meets the Towering Inferno. It's kind of the tunneling Poseidon adventure. And after a while, all you have to say is, if you've never seen a movie like this, then maybe you should see one as part of your lifetime experience.
But why this one? Rent those.
Rent one of those. Yeah. But if you have seen a movie like this, there's no need to see another one. There's no need to make another one. It's just a waste of time.
You know what I'm talking about when I say characters cast for the international market?
Oh, yeah.
When we have a jewel thief in the opening, this will sound picky, but it stands for a lot. We have a jewel robbery, okay, in Manhattan.
Yeah.
These are punk rockers dressed up, because punk rockers will translate to younger audiences worldwide.
It doesn't offend any ethnic group.
But if you do a robbery, why dress up outlandishly in the jewelry district where you're going to stand out? I mean,
and the digital readout on the fan that he has to drop through.
You know what?
In case might need a digital fan.
You haven't knocked Stallone.
Well, he's okay. Stallone
for making this picture.
Stallone
if he doesn't want
to make this picture. Yes. Stallone does a good professional job.
Sticking his hand in
well,
mud.
He's got it filled with plastic explosives, Gene.
Okay.
Don't forget the payoff.
Now for my bad action picture of the year. Starting with a recent regular on this list, Sylvester Stallone. And this year's offering from him, Daylight. Full of sound and fury as Stallone attempts to rescue a mixed bag of New Yorkers trapped in a collapsing Holland tunnel.
You don't know what kind of damage this such stretch has already sustained. So how do you know you can contain it to one section?
Don't know. I don't know anything. The only thing I know is we're not going to make it another hour unless I shut this thing down.
I think big bucks movie stars owe us, the audience, this much. Would they want to see the script they've selected come to life? If not, pick another one. I can't imagine anyone liking Fled.
Now, there you pose a real problem for them, Gene, because you don't get to be a big action star like Sylvester Stallone without being pretty smart. So smart that you wouldn't want to see any of the action pictures that you're in for the most part, and so there wouldn't be any action pictures made because most stars are too smart to go to most of the movies they're in, which is a tragedy, but it's the truth.
And yeah, that's our problem because we're asked to pay for it. I mean, I think you've put it, but don't you like that as a test? Why make something that you yourself wouldn't want to see?
Most of the executives in Hollywood, in fact, almost everyone in the movie industry is smarter than almost all of the movies they make, and they know it. They're just not smart enough not to make them.
You came to me, to my town, with all these speeches, and you were talking to me about doing the right thing, and I'm doing the right thing. What's going on? What are you doing?
Sylvester Stallone there, looking very much like a cop who's eaten more than a few dozen donuts in his lifetime, stars in the exciting new movie Copland as the sheriff of a most unusual New Jersey town, a town where a lot of New York City police officers live more luxuriously than they should be able to afford. That brings Robert De Niro to Stallone's office. He's an investigator for the Internal Affairs Corruption Division.
Lieutenant, I told you I'm watching. I mean, if you look around, you see none of these people are wearing silk shirts. Their pools are above ground, you know. You know, you raise your family somewhere decent. I guess that's a crime now.
The kingpin of the town is a well-connected veteran officer played by Harvey Keitel, another outstanding cast member of Copland.
And you come to me with a plan to set things right. Everyone in the city holding hands, singing We Are the World. It's very nice. But Freddie, your plan is the plan of a boy.
Copland well captures the us versus them mentality that is necessarily so ingrained in police work, especially as revealed in this exchange between Keitel and De Niro.
So what brings you to our fair city? Checking up on us?
I heard it was a way of life out here. Thought I'd check it out for myself.
What are we, like the Amish now?
And there are plenty of different levels of conflict among these highly strung characters. Old debts, illicit affairs. Here's Ray Liotta going at it with Robert Patrick. Remember him, the mercurial villain in Terminator 2.
Go home.
Don't shut me out, Ray. You found us a sweet little town, you got us a low interest, and I'm grateful. But don't forget who it was that you came to 2 years ago to cover your ass.
Get him out of here!
I've consciously stayed away from talking about some of the major plot devices of Copland because this screenplay by director James Mangold is one to be savored. He obviously attracted major talent with it, and it's easy to see why. This is a film that has a great sense of reality to it. There's been a lot of publicity about Sylvester Stallone getting off his macho high horse in his career and returning to play now a distinctive character. He's fine in the film, but so is everyone else. Save for a too neat ending, I think Copland is one of the better films of the year.
I was disappointed in it, Gene, and that's especially true because James Mangold did such a great first film when he made Heavy a year and a half ago. This film, to me, has too many characters, too many backstories, too many threads that it's trying to tie together and doesn't really tie them together. This is enough material for 2 movies. There should have been a clear line from beginning to end, somebody to absolutely follow more clarity in the storytelling, and the Stallone character is very much on one note until he comes into his own as an action hero again at the end of the movie.
The ending is not worthy of the character's definition throughout the picture. But Roger, I mean, I would say I'd like to see more of it, a longer picture, which might have solved your problem, but that's because there's so much richness in it. Didn't you like the whole concept of the picture of that?
Yes, but I kept thinking how it might have been handled by somebody like Scorsese, who would have really zeroed in. Instead
That's a very high bar to put any director against. It's the highest bar.
I might as well, because the fact is, here we have all of these lumps of story background that are thrown in, and the stolen files, and the old newspaper clippings, and all of the lugubrious plot development.
I didn't think those were lugubrious. I thought that stuff, the stuff you just named, I thought was exciting. I do recommend the picture. Yes, I did.
When we come back...
Driven is an ear-splitting, testosterone-fueled soap opera on wheels with 1970s icons Burt Reynolds and Sylvester Stallone playing mentors to the new breed, who all look like male models straight out of an Abercrombie & Fitch catalog. Reynolds is Carl Henry, a paralyzed former driver who is now the most ruthless team owner on the circuit. He cajoles Stallone's Joe Tanto to come back from retirement and coach the talented but fragile rookie Jimmy Bly, played by Kip Pardue.
And winning, it's an attitude. So if you trust me, no, if you trust yourself, by the end of the season, you'll either be on top or you won't. But I guarantee you, you're going to know what Jimmy Bly is really made of.
There's also an awkward romance between Jimmy and supermodel Estella Warren, who exists only as some kind of racetrack muse for the boys.
I'm not looking to get involved. I'm not over him.
I understand that, Sophia. I'm just looking for a friend.
You sure?
What's more painful there, the dialogue or the acting? You decide. And watch the platitudes fly after Joe and Jimmy finish a ludicrous high-speed chase through the streets of Chicago.
Get away from me, man. Just
Come on, you want to go through me? Come on, go through me.
I don't want to fight you. I want to fight him. For what? For what? You weren't there?
Yeah, I was there. What do you think he did? Take your woman away? Is that what you think he did?
But I will give credit to director Rennie Harlan for using every Aeroflex camera, Radcam, Steadicam, IMOCam, freeze frame, stop action, stutter shot, and computer effect imaginable. The racing scenes really are eye-popping. But they're also relentless and often so over the top in a Dave and Buster's arcade kind of way that you have to laugh. The bigger problem, though, for me is Stallone's script. It's a blueprint of predictable situations and embarrassing dialogue. Driven is so familiar, it ends up being the kind of movie you've seen before you've actually seen it.
Yeah, you know, one interesting thing is that only major characters in the movie ever place first, second, or third in any of the races.
That's it.
Everybody else on the circuit doesn't exist.
It's like a Hot Wheels track.
He cuts so fast, even in the dialogue, like he cuts between every sentence, sometimes twice. Sometimes he almost cuts on every word, as if you have to watch the screen for 5 seconds at a time, attention deficit syndrome will take over.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, apparently because you didn't want to set too much of a challenge for the people watching the movie, there aren't any bad guys in this movie. I don't want to give anything away, but even the other team turns out to be okay. And then at the end, that insipid, endless montage of everyone smiling at everyone else. And then, of course, you have, remember the brother, that he was kind of on the outside of the brother, but they had a little nod.
Everybody's going to be okay.
By the end of the movie, everybody's... This is like the new breed of Hollywood studio executives believe at the end of the movie, everybody in the audience has to be reassured that everybody's really friends.
Because then you'll buy all the action figures that come out. I mean, it's not a terrible movie. There are moments of fun, but it's just so over the top. And you know, like when the guy puts the crucifix over his neck, it's like, oh boy, he's in trouble. I mean, you laugh out loud at the wrong point.
Some of the racing scenes, some of the special effects, pretty cranked up.
Yeah, feature not listed on the DVD menu for that movie. It's an example of an Easter egg, a hidden treasure that might not be listed or detailed anywhere on the DVD box or even in the press materials, but it's well worth the hunt. For example, in the DVD of the first Rocky, go to the main menu, click the up button until the Rocky logo appears. Now hit enter and you'll kick off a 3-minute feature in which Sylvester Stallone meets his creation face to face.
It's incredible. You know, I have so much I want to say to you. After all, you did give me everything. Yo, you gave me some stuff too, like black eyes, bruises, ages. I was just kidding about the black eyes, you know.
You got a sense of humor. I like that, but I don't know about this wardrobe. And to tell you the truth, Rock, I did think you were taller. No offense, but I'll be right back.
Where's that from? The 80s?
That's probably the 70s.
Sylvester Stallone enters the ring one last time as Rocky Balboa. I'm Richard Roeper. Sitting in for Roger again this week is Aisha Tyler.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Glad to have you.
Now, if you spent the last decade wondering whatever happened to Rocky Balboa, where is he? Well, Christmas came early for you this year in the form of the 6th installment. That's right. the 6th in the Rocky saga. Rocky gets in the ring one last time against the current heavyweight champ, a man 25 years his junior. Get ready for the artificial teeth to fly. Now, the idea for the fight comes from a simulated one created by the sinister geniuses at ESPN.
Boy, he's bit off more than he can chew this time, believe it. Oh, a murderous right hook as he trembles to the table.
That's Antonio Tarver as the oddly named Mason the Line Dixon. Rocky is struggling with grief over the death of his beloved Adrian and estranged from his adult son, played by Milo Ventimiglia of Heroes fame. The kid's a whiner. Rocky sets him straight.
The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
That is one of many affecting speeches in this movie. This fantastic speech by Tony Burton drew wild laughs and applause in the movie theater that I saw it in.
So what we'll be calling on is good old-fashioned blunt force trauma, horsepower, heavy-duty cast iron, pile-driving punches that will have to hurt so much they'll rattle his ancestors. Every time you hit him with his shot, it's got to feel like he tried kissing the express train. Yeah, let's start building some hurting bombs.
The entire film is like that speech. It's wry, it's self-effacing, and Sly is an accomplished filmmaker who knows that this story is a hard sell, and he plays it just right. This is a fun ride. It's kind to the character's legacy without pandering, and the fact that the film doesn't give us exactly what we expect out of it is testament to Stallone's deft hand and devotion to authenticity. This is a man's movie about the interior life of men and their relationships, especially as they age. It's nostalgic without being maudlin, and it ties up the franchise perfectly, and I'm giving it a huge thumbs up.
I am so glad to hear that, Aisha, because I love this movie. You know, I love the first Rocky movie, and then it got to the point where you're like, who's he going to fight next? He's going to fight Stephen Hawking. It's the only guy you can take anymore, you know. But he brings it home beautifully here. You mentioned Tony Burton. You know, Tony Burton played Apollo Creed's corner man in the original film. There are other characters, minor characters from the first Rocky that come back, and I thought that was a nice job. And as a director, Stallone brings Rocky back to the streets. And, you know, ironically, I think the fight scenes are the least involving parts of this movie because we know kind of what's going to go on in the fight sequences. It's those little moments with his son, with Burt Young's Paulie that I loved about this film.
It just was gorgeous. It was really, one of the things that came to mind when I was watching it is the beauty of the everyday. It really does go back to the streets where he started, kind of the glamour of the big statue and all that stuff is gone. And this is a guy who's just dealing with kind of the remains of his life in a really honest and tender way. And he's funny. He's wonderfully emotionally grounded. He does great acting work here. Everybody does really good work. And I loved it.
And it just reminds us of why the original movie deserved to win Best Picture 30 years ago. And I'm just so happy for Stallone that he was able to reclaim this franchise and give it a fitting finale.
It also just reminds you why you loved that original guy, because he was this underdog, and he really returns to those underdog roots. And it's just beautifully, it's just fantastic. Go see it.
I had a great time at this movie. There you have it. Okay.
This week on the final episode of At the Movies, Julia Roberts leads a group of mercenaries on a mission to... Wait a minute, that can't be right.
No. She stars in Eat, Pray, Love. Also coming up this week...
Are you crazy? Could kill me! You're welcome!
Sylvester Stallone's The Expendables. Any more testosterone in this thing, and the screen would sprout hair.
Well, I got 3 pieces of work. 2 a walk in the park and 1 to hell and back.
So, we are working for the agency.
I gotta recon this island first.
The only thing you need to know is the job's real and the money's real.
The Expendables describes itself as a film by Sylvester Stallone, and that pretty much says it all. Once again, Stallone liberates the oppressed masses of the third world and kills a whole lot of people in the process. But this time, he's got lots of help. Dolph Lundgren, Jet Li, Jason Statham, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and for a few minutes each, Bruce Willis, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Mickey Rourke, who goes all misty on us.
I don't want to die all alone, full of holes in the mud and blood. I'll die with something that counts. I'm going to die with a woman.
These guys are so sensitive. They just want to help people, and they use whatever tools happen to be at their disposal.
You want the money? Go get it.
What's that?
In a text.
Excuse me?
Now, that early scene is actually fairly restrained. The bloodshed is very intense in The Expendables, and in the last half hour, the picture lets go of its always shaky hold on narrative coherence and just lets fly with the fireballs and the bullets and the testosterone. Statham punches a guy in the face when the guy's already on fire. Terry Crews launches an artillery shell at a helicopter with his bare hands. Yeah! This movie is blunt, dumb, and crude, but not without a certain leathery charm. I laughed quite a bit. Enough to say that after a hard day at the office, you might want to open up a light beer, slap on a fake tattoo, fire up a cigar, and rent it.
I would actually, I would say see it to that review. That's but I would say the movie is fun in theory. I don't think it's leathery. It's more like a trip to the Naugahyde outlet store. These guys are beyond leathery.
I actually thought it was like a trip through the cooling room at a Chicago steakhouse. I haven't seen so much air-dried, aged beef.
Yes,
a lot of beef.
Yeah, I sat through so many Golden Globus, Canon Pictures classics from the 80s and 90s that had more. No, those had more honest, low-down entertainment value than this. I think a pretty self-conscious attempt to get that old style and feeling back. I just think Stallone isn't much with action as a director behind the camera, and he loves the close-up that is from the eyebrow to the upper lip only, and that interspersed with fireballs, interspersed with beheadings, makes kind of a
I guess so,
drag.
but this kind of reminded me of a reunion tour of a rock band that everyone's forgotten about that hasn't had a hit in 25 years.
Foghat.
Yeah, it's like the Foghat reunion tour, and there's a certain amount of fog and a few
the fog of war, baby. This is the fog of war.
I mean, I had a pretty good time, partly because it reminded me of those old, somewhat better.
I wanted to, but Stallone's goodwill with the audience is still there, and the other guys too, and maybe that's enough to make it a hit. It's not very good, but maybe that's enough. Coming up next, it's time to say goodbye. We look back at 35 years at the movies.
Want to ring the bell?
All right. Ding, ding.
Maybe I went here with the wrong guy.
Come on, watch yourself. Ready?